The old lighthouse stood tall on the cliff. It was a spooky sight. The paint was peeling. The windows were boarded up. 10-year-old Billy looked up at it. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Billy was visiting his grandparents for the summer. Their town was famous for the old lighthouse. People said it was haunted. Billy didn't believe in ghosts, but he was still scared. He took a deep breath and walked towards the lighthouse. The rusty gate creaked as he pushed it open. The air grew cold, even though it was a sunny day. Billy felt uneasy, but he kept going. He wanted to see the lighthouse up close. He reached the heavy wooden door. It had a big rusty lock on it. Billy tried the handle. To his surprise, the door creaked open. Billy stepped inside. It was dark and dusty. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. The air smelled musty, like old books and seawater. Billy took out his flashlight and shone it around. The wind howled outside. It whistled through the cracks in the walls. It sounded like someone was whispering. Billy felt a cold hand on his neck. He turned around quickly, but there was no one there. He climbed the spiral staircase. The wooden steps creaked under his weight. The whispering sound followed him. It seemed to be coming from the top of the lighthouse. Billy reached the top. The lantern room was dark and empty. The huge lens was covered in dust. But the whispering was louder here, and it definitely sounded like words. Billy looked around the room. He noticed a small wooden chest tucked under a table. It was covered in dust and cobwebs. He wiped it clean and opened it. Inside, he found an old leather-bound diary. The pages were yellow and brittle. He started reading. It was the diary of the old lighthouse keeper. He wrote about a secret treasure that he had hidden somewhere in the lighthouse. Billy's eyes widened. A real treasure. He couldn't believe it. He read on, eager to find out more. The diary had faded ink, and some pages were torn, but Billy managed to read enough. The lighthouse keeper had hidden a clue to his treasure inside the lighthouse. Billy spent the next hour searching the lantern room. He looked behind old barrels and under floorboards, but he couldn't find anything. He was starting to lose hope. He felt a cold breath on his ear. Someone was definitely watching him. He turned around, shining his flashlight into the darkness, but there was no one there, just the sound of the wind howling outside. Billy shivered. He felt scared now. He wanted to leave, but he couldn't give up, not until he found the treasure. He knew he had to be brave. He took a deep breath and continued searching. Billy went downstairs to the lower levels of the lighthouse. He searched every room and corner looking for anything unusual, anything that could be a clue. Finally, in a small room near the bottom, he found something. A broken compass lay on a dusty table, its needle stuck, pointing to the east. Billy picked it up and examined it. He remembered something from the diary. The lighthouse keeper had written about a compass. He used it to navigate the sea. Could this be the clue? But what did it mean? Billy looked around the room. There had to be something else. Billy noticed a loose brick in the wall. He pulled on it. To his surprise, it opened a small hidden door. Inside, he found a narrow passage. It was dark and damp, but Billy was too curious to be scared. He squeezed through the opening and entered the passage. The passage led to a small dark room. Billy used his flashlight to see. The room was empty, except for a single wooden table in the center. On the table lay a piece of parchment. Billy's heart raced. He knew this must be another clue. He cautiously approached the table. He picked up the parchment and unrolled it. It was a map, but not just any map. This map was old and faded, drawn on animal skin. It showed the lighthouse and the surrounding area. Billy studied the map closely. He recognized the cliffs and the beach from his walks with his grandparents. But there was something else on the map, a series of symbols and lines that he didn't understand. And at the very center of the map, marked with a big X, was a spot in the nearby woods. Billy realized this must be a treasure map. But what did the symbols mean, and what was the treasure? He thought about the compass he had found earlier. The needle was stuck pointing east. He looked at the map again. If he followed the direction of the compass from the lighthouse on the map, it led him directly to the X in the woods. Billy smiled. He knew what he had to do. He carefully folded the map and put it in his pocket. Billy hurried out of the lighthouse and ran towards the woods. He followed the direction the compass pointed. He reached a clearing in the woods. In the center stood an old, gnarled oak tree. Its branches were twisted and knobby. Billy recognized it from the map. He looked around the base of the tree. He noticed a small, heart-shaped stone partially hidden in the roots. He cleared away the dirt and leaves. The stone had a word carved into it: family. Billy's eyebrows furrowed. What did family mean? Then he remembered a story his grandfather had told him, a story about the lighthouse keeper. He had no children, but he loved his niece dearly. He would leave her little gifts hidden around the lighthouse. Billy realized the lighthouse keeper's treasure wasn't gold or jewels. It was something much more precious. He looked around the clearing, thinking like the lighthouse keeper might have thought. His eyes fell on a spot under the oak tree. He started digging with his hands. Soon his fingers touched something hard. He pulled it out. It was a small metal box. He pried it open. Inside he found a beautiful silver locket. It had a picture of a young girl inside. On the back it was engraved with the words, "To my dearest niece." Billy smiled. He knew he had found the lighthouse keeper's real treasure. It wasn't gold, but a precious memory of his family. Billy carefully closed the locket and put it in his pocket. He felt happy to have solved the mystery of the haunted lighthouse. And as he walked back, he thought he heard the faint sound of music. Maybe it was just the wind, or maybe, just maybe, it was the lighthouse keeper, finally at peace.